How y'all doing? I'm Joshua Wiley, and this right here is probably like a little it's a pre-video, a pre-video to a whole study that we're gonna work on. It hit me, like I said, these past several months, my physical as I get older, you know, certain things happening and stuff, and I wasn't eating right, I wasn't living right, you know, I'm doing things harming my body, and it hit me like a ton of bricks as I've been getting right these past 2 months, you know, and eating right and juicing and doing certain things that I'm supposed to be doing, making sure I get my all my vegetables in. I realized I used to hide the fact to the world that I was a manic depressant, you know, extremely angry, sad, down all the time, which would make me more angrier, you know, for even just having those feelings and thoughts. And I used to hide it, and God told me recently in the past 2 months I must share it. And because the war is over the mind. And if Revelation 18 verse 23, God is telling us that Babylon is using sorceries, which means pharmakeia, to deceive the world. And pharmakeia means, yes, the word same root for pharmacy and pharmaceuticals. The word pharmakeia means anything that medicates the mind. Now think about it. This is the beyond genius of the devil. You have to know your foe. You know, if he can get, if through our diet, how we eat, sleep, the way we work, not resting, and not exercise, if he can get us to have a chemical imbalance just simply because we're not eating healthy or getting enough sleep and rest and exercise, then your mind becomes weaker and more open to pharmaceuticals, to pharmakeia, to witchcraft, to sins. It's harder to fight sins. You know, certain habits and urges are simply that you have are simply really also because of your chemical imbalance you may have. Like, nobody wants to talk, and the Lord let me know that nobody wants to link mental disorders and chemical imbalances with sin and in the church and diet and health. And so I said, okay, I will. Because if I let my chemical imbalance get off, and I've had it my whole life, and I even, like my wife would tell you, and my mom, I can even tell you when my balance gets off. I know when my chemical imbalance is off. I start hearing voices. I laugh, you know, but it's true. And the voices become clearer and stronger, and I know it's just demons. My mind is more open to certain things. And if my chemical imbalance is off, and say, like, I'm trying not to watch pornography or masturbation, which society tells you is okay, also causes a chemical imbalance. If the devil knows, if he can get us to have a chemical imbalance either through masturbation, our diet, lack of sleep, lack of exercise, then you might take a pill or something that medicates your mind, your frontal lobe, that dulls it. He'll have more access to you. Think about how unreasonable you are when you're cranky, moody, things. So, but anyway, like I say, this is just a little pre-video. I'm gonna go into more depth in either tomorrow or the next day. I'm gonna go into more depth. But the name of this video is the government. It doesn't want you to know about Ellen White. Not just they say all these bad things about Ellen White, and it truly hit me. One of the main reasons they don't want you to, because she, through the Holy Spirit through her has given us the cure for cancer and chemical imbalances. Y'all say, Josh, what are you talking about? All of the critics of Ellen White, please, when I say the truth loves investigation, investigate it before you say I'm wrong. The modern day sanitariums and hospitals are now built after how Ellen White said we should build them. Y'all say, oh, Josh, that's reaching, that's far-fetched. Did many of you know? You'll never hear the critics of Ellen White say this, or they'll even link it together. They don't want you to know this. James Kellogg, one of the greatest renowned surgeons ever in American history, and in the history of one of, I didn't say the greatest, but one of, who we still eat Kellogg's and Special K. Ellen White was the one who sent and paid for him to go to school. They won't tell you that. They won't tell you that. So that's how you know that was the Holy Spirit who said, that little boy is gifted and blessed by my hand of medicine and things of that nature. But in a day when the doctors used to give their patients cigarettes, Ellen White was the first one through counsels who said, no, tobacco causes cancer. She was also the one that said, this is the part where I said that hospitals and sanitariums are now built off of her counsels. I have one of her books pulled up on here, but you really can't see it because of the light on the thing, but I'm going to tell you the names of the books, and they're free to read online. But it's about having hospitals used to be like closed off factories done. She was the one who said we should have big open air windows and the amount of sunlight should come in and think. Now, how many Satanists is concerned with that the hospitals can say that a lot of the hospitals are built after their replica of the health world? That's like saying Marilyn Manson designed the hospital system for Georgia. You know, I mean, let's be real. Let's be honest. Why don't we ask ourselves things when you're just thinking about the critics? There's serious reasons why they don't want you to read anything with Ellen White. And like I say, the bodily problems I done had from my chemical imbalance and from my own detriment, in just 2 months of, she has a book called Counsels on Diets and Foods and Ministry of Healing. But Counsels on Diets and Foods is, man, it's mind-blowing. If you stick to her counsels, you will not get cancer in any way, shapes, or forms. Well, let me say it better this way. You will not get the cancers that's caused from our own doing. Now, if some cancers are hereditary or some outward extremity beyond, it might have, like my friend, his granddaddy had gotten lung cancer from breathing in. He used to lay down carpets, and so from breathing in the glue on the carpets over a large period of time, he developed lung cancer. So I'm not saying a person might not get cancer at all, but beloved, I realize I'm willing to go to back and guarantee with the truth. You know, there's a lot of people dying from cancers and diseases, and the truth has been given to us, but many of us are afraid to go and share it because we're afraid to put a guarantee on it. I'm put a guarantee on my own life, my own health, of how in just 2 months, this is my first time really even juicing, like drinking concentrated lemon juice with some cayenne pepper, put a little bit of turmeric in it, some apple cider vinegar. This is my first time really doing these things, and the results is mind-blowing. I lost 22 pounds in 2 months. Because she even said go to 2 meals a day. We should only eat 2 meals a day, and just like say if a little snack in between, like some little fruit or nuts in between. She said, you know, that 3 meals, the way what we've been taught, and everything just loading in. How are we surprised we're the most obese country in the world? You know, leading factors in heart disease and cancers. So this is a short, because I'm going to go in depth and I'm not going to stay up at it. Many people need to know this. If you don't believe me, question it. Read the books. You know, like I said, that's like a Satanist saying, you know, for those who call her a Satanist, you'll never hear them tell you about the health and what the medical world. National Geographic did a study some years ago. They did a test where they tested every culture to see who lived the longest. They were shocked at their results. What was the result? What was the results, Josh? The results was the group of people that lived the longest was not a culture. It was a group of Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists up in Loma Linda, California, who followed the health diet of Ellen G. White, live an average 12 years longer than anyone else. in the world. This is a fact. It was so much a fact, they made it into a documentary. I believe the name of the documentary is, I want to say it's called The Adventist, or just Google National Geographic Living the Longest, Loma Linda. But yeah, they found it, they were shocked because they was like, wow, it wasn't a culture, but actually a religious group of people who follow the health diet of Ellen G. White live an average 12 years longer than everyone else. And not just, and what shocked them even more was it wasn't just living average 12 years longer, but full of out doing things with no diseases like Alzheimer's, none of that stuff. None of that stuff. I'm talking about 80 something years old, walking, taking walks, going back home, driving their car, you know, fully functioning, mind sharp, things of that nature. So much so that National Geographic had to make they did a documentary on it. So as we get into this study, I just wanted to drop the truth in the water. Just study it for yourselves. It's doing wonders. This is my first time in my whole life. I was born and raised an Adventist. But if you heard my testimony, at 12 years old, I studied the four major religions. To me at that time was just Muslim, you know, Baptist, Pentecostal, and Adventist, and I compared them all to the Bible. But that's when I chose Adventism for my own self. But this is my first time really following the health message, even though I was a vegetarian for a long time. But she says, you know, about being vegan, and there's so many good substitutes to help you eat. Some people say, well, I can't afford it. No, trust me, it's cheaper than the meat and the other living. It's cheaper. But don't take my word for it. Do it for yourself. Test it for yourself. Read it for yourself. Her counsels cure cancer, and the government, the Jesuits, society, they don't want you to know that, because cancer is the biggest business today. Y'all have a good one.